I'm sorry. A cold voice echoed through the cafe in Soho. A small black case was placed on the table. It made a dry little click. I can't be a farmer's wife. It's impossible for me. Sophia Williams turned and left without a single look back. Her silhouette vanished into the bustling crowd. All I, Ethan Johnson, could do was stare after her in a daze. It had all started just 2 days ago, a high-rise restaurant in Chicago. Outside the window, the night view glittered like scattered jewels. In my hands, I held a small, black velvet box. My heart was pounding. Across from me, Sophia watched me with eyes full of expectation. I was 29 years old. Tonight, I was making the biggest gamble of my life. Sophia, marry me. I opened the box. The $10,000 engagement ring cast a brilliant light. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes. Yes. Her voice trembled. I took her left hand. Gently, I slipped the ring onto her finger. I felt like I was on top of the world. I truly believed this happiness would last forever. I never imagined that in just one day, this promise would crumble like a sandcastle. The next afternoon, we were sitting across from each other at our usual cafe, but Sophia's expression was as hard as stone. The moment she opened her mouth, a terrible feeling sent a chill down my spine. I need you to forget about yesterday. What? My mind went blank. What did she just say? What do you mean? Sophia kept her head down. On her left hand, the ring I had placed there yesterday was gone. Your family runs an organic farm, right, Ethan? Yeah. I told my parents yesterday, and then Sophia looked up. Her eyes held not apology, but a cold, firm resolve. They said our families don't match. That being a farmer's wife is embarrassing. It felt like a sharp stake had been driven through my chest. And what do you think, Sophia? A long silence followed. Then, in a clear voice, she said, I feel the same way as my parents. The noise of the cafe faded away like a receding tide. The woman in front of me seemed like a complete stranger. You're a kind and wonderful person, Ethan. But when I think about the future, covered in dirt, with an unstable income, I can't bear it. She slid the case with the ring across the table. I'm sorry. With that one word, Sophia stood up and left. I couldn't find the words to stop her. No, I was forced to realize I didn't have the right to. With heavy steps, I returned to my family's farm in rural Pennsylvania. When I opened the front door, my mom, Linda Johnson, was standing there in her apron. Her face was full of hope. Welcome home. How did it go? Did Sophia like it? As I entered the living room, my dad, Robert Johnson, looked up from his newspaper. The dining table was covered with a celebratory BBQ feast. I could see how much my parents had been looking forward to this day. My chest tightened. Actually, in a trembling voice, I told them everything. Because I was a farmer's son, because our families didn't match, the engagement was off. The atmosphere at the table froze. A fork slipped from my mother's hand. It clattered on the floor with a dry sound. I'm so sorry, Ethan. What are you sorry for? It's our fault. Because we do this kind of work. Large tears streamed down my mother's face. No, that's not it. I shot up from my chair. You and Dad did nothing wrong. My father was biting his lip in silence. His gnarled, calloused hands were clenched tightly on his knees. These hands. With these hands, he worked from morning till night to put me through college. I'm sorry, son. My father's voice was trembling too. If only we were doctors or lawyers. Something more respectable. Stop it. Something inside me snapped. Why are you apologizing? Dad, Mom, you've done nothing wrong. I clenched my fists and shouted. You worked hard, grew delicious vegetables, and raised me. What's wrong with any of that? My mother's face was a mess of tears. My father's profile, his jaw tight with shame. That woman had trampled all over their hard work in a single moment. The ones who are wrong! My voice shook. The ones who are wrong are that woman and her parents, who looked down on your work, on your life, without knowing a single thing about it. Anger, regret, and above all, the sorrow of having my precious parents insulted. My heart felt like it was about to burst. Damn it! I snatched the ring case from the table, and I stormed out of the house. I ended up in Central Park. I slumped onto a park bench. I opened the velvet ring case in my hand. The diamond seemed to mock me with its dull glint. What is this? The words escaped my lips. $10,000. To me now, it was worthless as a piece of paper. Maybe I should throw it in the river or sell it at a pawn shop. Thoughts like these swirled in my head. It was then. Hey, old man. A voice suddenly spoke from right beside me. Startled, I looked up. A young girl was standing there. Her school uniform was faded, as if washed many times. The hem of her skirt was frayed, and the bag slung over her shoulder was old and worn. But what struck me most were her eyes. They held a dry light, as if she had faced the storms of life all on her own. I'm not an old man. The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. I'm only 29. Humph. She snorted. You have the face of a very old man. Her tone was cheeky. Normally, it would have annoyed me, but for some reason, it didn't. In fact, her bluntness was strangely comforting. She sat down next to me without asking. No hesitation, no shyness. And she stared at the box in my hand. What's that? An expensive ring? Did you get dumped? She hit the nail on the head, and I was at a loss for words. Haha. So I was right. She cackled, but her laughter sounded hollow. So, what are you going to do with it? Throw it away? Sell it? I don't care anymore. Oh? Her eyes gleamed for a second. If you don't want it, give it to me. What? The suggestion was so absurd, I let out a stupid sound. Are you serious? Do you have any idea how much this costs? It's $10,000. $10,000? She nodded, impressed. Wow, that's a lot more than my life is worth. Her words squeezed my heart. But to you right now, it's just trash, isn't it? She was right. It was frustrating, but she was right. So you might as well give it to me. Better than throwing it in a dumpster. She said it so casually, but deep in her voice, I sensed something desperate. A kind of urgency. What are you doing out here at this hour anyway? I asked, trying to change the subject. Where's your home? Your parents? For a moment, a shadow crossed her face. Don't have any of that? Ran away? Something like that? She hugged her knees and stared into the distance. Actually, I just dropped out of high school today. I can't pay the tuition anymore. Her father, she said, hadn't worked in over a year. Her voice was terrifyingly flat. Debt collectors come every day. They take all the money I earned from my part-time job. It was an unbelievable story. I was working like crazy, but... She laughed, a self-mocking sound. Juggling school and a job was impossible. Today, I was officially expelled. Your mother? I asked cautiously. She left when I was in elementary school. The answer was immediate. I was speechless. A girl this young, living a life like this. They cut off our electricity yesterday. I just got sick of it all. So, I'm not going back. She stood up and looked at the night sky. But you're only 18. What are you going to do now? Who knows? She shrugged. I'll figure something out. I'll just live. 18 years old. Still just a kid. Yet her face looked as if she had given up on everything. My problems? Compared to the reality she was facing, they seemed so insignificant. Hey, you! She suddenly spoke up. Her face was dead serious when she turned back to me. A minute ago, you were yelling about how your parents were insulted. Huh. You heard that? And you ran out of the house, and now you're just moping here alone? She was hitting me where it hurt without mercy. You care about your parents, right? You're angry they were insulted. Yeah. Then why are you here? Her eyes bored right through me. They held a strength that I lacked. You should make them regret it. Become so successful that the people who looked down on you will want to get on their knees and beg for forgiveness. It's not that easy. It's not easy at all. She immediately shot back. It's incredibly hard. But you still have a chance, don't you? She pointed at me. You have a family. You have a job. You have a healthy body. She counted them off, folding her fingers one by one. I have nothing left. This time, she pointed to herself. But I'm still going to live. I'll crawl on my hands and knees if I have to, but I'll survive. I was completely overwhelmed. I was supposed to be the one in despair. But this girl in front of me was different. She was 10 years younger than me, but the light in her eyes hadn't died. She was fighting desperately to live. To be lectured by a kid like this. I gritted my teeth at my own pathetic state. I had to ask her name. Mia. It was a short answer. Mia. I stood up without a word, and I pressed the ring box into her small palm. Huh? Her eyes widened. She looked back and forth between me and the box, again and again. Wait, I was just kidding. This is my promise. I took her small hand in both of mine. Your words woke me up. I was the worst kind of man. I pretended to be angry for my parents, but in the end, I was only thinking about my own wounded pride. Sell this. It should help you get by for a little while. She stared at the box in my hands, dumbfounded. She looked like she couldn't believe it. I pulled a few bills from my wallet. Take this too. I pressed $1,200 into her hand. Hey, what are you doing? It's for your living expenses for now. Tears started to well up in her eyes. Why? Why for someone like me? You're strong. I looked straight into Mia's eyes. You're a much stronger person than I am. Be happy. With those words, I turned my back on her. I left Central Park. I didn't look back once. I was afraid that if I did, I would be pulled back into being that pathetic version of myself again. Thank you. I heard Mia's small voice from behind me. It was swallowed by the darkness of the night. Just then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was my mom. It's your father. He collapsed. The waiting room of Massachusetts General Hospital. My mother was trembling beside me. He was just so hurt that you were looked down on for being a farmer's son. He couldn't stand it. My mother's words stabbed me in the chest. My father had been working in the fields right up until he collapsed. At more than twice his usual pace. He kept muttering, "How dare they look down on my son? It's my fault. It's not your fault." My mother squeezed my hand tightly. The surgery was a success. But the doctor's words were heavy. He needs absolute rest for the time being. Farm work is out of the question. My father, sleeping in the hospital bed. His face was the color of the earth. His gnarled hands peeked out from the blanket. These hands. With these hands, he had protected our family. Through rain and wind, from morning till night. Dad. I made a vow to my sleeping father. I'm going to take over this farm. I'm going to become the #1 organic farmer in the country. At that moment, my father's closed eyelids fluttered open. "It's not easy, you know." His voice was hoarse. "Your friends are in air-conditioned offices wearing suits. You'll be covered in mud. Are you sure you want that?" "I'm ready for it," I answered without hesitation. "Dad, Mom, your work is my pride. I will never let anyone say this work is embarrassing ever again." A single tear traced a path from the corner of my father's eye. "You foolish son." But a faint smile played on his lips. Beside me, my mother was crying quietly. 5 years have passed since that day. 4:30 a.m. My body wakes up before the alarm goes off. That has become my daily routine. For these 5 years, I worked relentlessly. I changed the day after my father collapsed. I went to neighboring farms, asking for their guidance. At first, they turned me away. What can a novice do? No one would give me the time of day, but I didn't give up. Eventually, they gave in and started teaching me, little by little, how to prepare the soil, how to mix fertilizer, knowledge of pests and diseases. I wrote everything down in a notebook. I slept 4 hours a night, but I never once thought it was hard. "Ethan, you didn't sleep again?" My father, now recovered, would ask with a worried voice. He couldn't push himself anymore. "I'm fine, Dad. Today I'm trying a new formula. I took over everything. After 5 years, I finally feel like I've become a real farmer. The quality of our vegetables has improved dramatically. Our tomatoes, especially, are so sweet people mistake them for fruit." This month, the ledger was still bleeding red ink. I quietly closed the book and let out a heavy sigh. Selling only from our farm stand wasn't enough anymore. On a good day, we'd make around $250. Monthly revenue was over $7,000, but after fertilizer and utility costs, there was almost no profit left. At this rate, I wouldn't just fail to become number one. I wouldn't even be able to protect the farm I inherited from my father. I had to find a major client. I changed out of my work clothes and into a suit, stuffing business materials into my bag. I also packed a box of freshly picked vegetables as samples. "Today's the day," I swore to myself as I headed to a corporate office building, but reality was harsh. "I'm sorry, sir. We only do business with major suppliers." I was turned away at the reception desk. How many companies had this been? Even when I showed them my prize vegetables, the representative would just shake his head mechanically. "It's our policy not to work with independent farmers without a track record. I'm confident in the quality. Just one taste." No, that's not the issue. Everywhere I went, the answer was the same. It wasn't about quality. Just because I was an individual, they wouldn't even listen. Panic tightened its grip on my chest. Debt was the only thing growing, like a snowball rolling downhill. Suddenly, a bench in Central Park caught my eye. The place where I met Mia that day. I wonder how she's doing now. Did she sell the ring? Is she going to school? "I hope you're happy," I muttered to myself and started walking again. As a last resort, I knocked on the doors of a children's home called the Sunflower Home. But here, too, the answer was the same. "I'm sorry, but we can't do business with a farm that has no track record," the director said apologetically. "Again?" My shoulders slumped. As I turned to leave, a voice stopped me. "Director, don't you think we could at least try a sample?" I turned around. Standing there was a female staff member in a white apron. She had chestnut hair tied back in a ponytail and kind eyes. I felt like I had seen her somewhere before. No, I couldn't possibly forget someone so beautiful. "Ms. Davis." The director looked perplexed. "If we're thinking about the children, we should acknowledge good things when we see them." The woman called Davis spoke with a strong will. "But rules are rules. Rules don't protect the children's health. She didn't back down an inch. We want to give them the very best. Isn't that our mission? The director's face tightened. An impromptu tasting session was held in the meeting room. The vegetables I brought were laid out on the table. The morning dew-kissed tomatoes shone like jewels under the lights. Let's eat. The staff members took a bite of a tomato first. Instantly, cries of surprise erupted around the room. It's so sweet! Is this a fruit? This carrot doesn't have that weird, earthy taste at all. One staff member, who mentioned she had a child who hated vegetables, had tears in her eyes. With this, maybe my child will finally eat with joy. Finally, the director, who had been reluctant, took a bite, and his eyes widened. He chewed on a piece of spinach, nodding repeatedly. This is indeed wonderful. No bitterness at all. It's actually sweet. Then, he turned to me. Mr. Johnson, was it? How do you grow vegetables like these? Everything is done by hand, starting with the soil. I answered honestly. We use as little chemical fertilizer as possible, focusing on organic compost. And most importantly, with love. Love, you say? The director's expression softened slightly. All right, let's start with a 2-month trial contract. Really? My voice was louder than I intended. Yes. We'll see how the children react and decide whether to continue from there. As I signed the contract, a warmth spread through my chest. I did it. Finally, my vegetables were recognized. Thank you. Thank you so much. As I bowed my head again and again, Ms. Davis smiled at me. Ms. Davis, you are a huge help. Not at all. I'm just happy we get to eat delicious vegetables. We shook hands. Her hand was surprisingly soft and warm. She seemed like a goddess who had appeared just to save me. From then on, I was amazed by Ms. Davis's efficiency. Mr. Johnson. Next, I'll introduce you to the Sunshine Daycare. Oh, really? Of course. The director there is very passionate about food education. The following week, another tasting was held at the daycare, and again, it was a huge success. A new contract was signed on the spot. On the way back, I thanked Ms. Davis again. You really know a lot of people, don't you? Not really, she said with a gentle smile. Ms. Davis smiled shyly. No, I just want to see the children smile. That had to be modesty. She had a mysterious ability to draw people in. With Ms. Davis's introductions, new doors opened one after another. After the daycare, it was the elementary school's lunch center, then the local community kitchen for kids. If Ms. Davis recommends it, it must be good. Everywhere I went, I heard the same words. Just how much trust had she earned? One summer evening. On my way back from a delivery to the home, I found myself alone with her. The chirping of the cicadas slowly faded into the distance. Another long day of sweating in the sun. Ms. Davis wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. That bag looks heavy. Let me carry it. No, it's okay, she said with a smile. Her profile, bathed in the setting sun, was so beautiful that my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Oh, by the way, she said happily. Yesterday, a 6-year-old boy said, "Can I have more of this tomato?" She truly shone when she talked about the children. She raised her voice slightly, imitating the child. I couldn't help but smile at her innocent charm. That's great. Really. Yes, it's all thanks to you, Ethan. Her direct gaze pierced me. Her eyes, illuminated by the sunset, glistened as if wet. My heart was racing. This is bad. I'm falling for this person. I gathered my courage and opened my mouth. Ms. Davis? Yes? As a thank you for everything, I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner sometime. Just as I was about to finish, something on her chest caught the setting sun. A necklace, and on it, a single diamond ring. It felt as if a cold hand had gripped my heart. Of course. Someone this wonderful would obviously have a partner. Oh, never mind. I quickly swallowed my words. You must be busy. Sorry for asking something so strange. Huh? Miss Davis tilted her head in confusion. It's nothing. Well, I'll be going. I put down my delivery and practically fled the scene. Ethan! I heard her voice behind me, but I couldn't turn back. If I turned back now, I knew my face would look utterly pathetic. Even after that, the farm's business continued to grow. The combination of Ms. Davis's network and the quality of our vegetables was a powerful one. Our list of clients grew steadily. Ethan, look at this. One evening at dinner, my father excitedly spread out the ledger. This month's sales are 4 times last year's. It's thanks to Ms. Davis. No, it's because the vegetables you grow are the real deal. My father was as proud as if it were his own achievement. I'm so glad you said you'd take over the farm back then. My mother added, her eyes crinkling at the corners. You're the talk of the neighborhood, so young and so successful. I'm not there yet. Feeling embarrassed, I scratched my head. You're our pride and joy, son. My father's words warmed my heart. I was accepted. That alone felt like it made up for all the hardships of the past 5 years. I'll keep working even harder. Just as I made that vow, my phone rang shrilly. It was an employee. Boss, we have a huge problem. His voice was trembling on the other end of the line. Tomorrow's delivery. A simultaneous delivery to 40 large supermarkets across the state. If this succeeded, the farm would move to the next level. The shipping company's truck. A bad feeling crept over me. It was involved in an accident on the highway. The blood drained from my face. The driver? He has minor injuries, but the truck overturned, and the cargo is a total loss. My mind went completely blank. The delivery was for first thing tomorrow morning, and it was all gone. We had just enough vegetables in stock to cover the order. But we had no replacement truck. We're looking, but at this time of year, everywhere is booked. I get it. I'll look too. As soon as I hung up, I started calling every shipping company I could find. All my employees were frantically searching as well. But the answer was the same everywhere. We're sorry. It's our busy season. We don't have a single truck available. The night wore on. The deadline was fast approaching. If we can't make the delivery, the penalty fee would be in the tens of thousands. The farm would go bankrupt. Everything would be over. 2 a.m. I was alone in the office. I had run out of companies to call. Damn it, I slammed my fist on the desk. Everything was going so well. We had finally come this far. Frustration brought tears to my eyes, and then, suddenly, my mind was hazy, but I had run out of the farm. My feet naturally carried me to that place. Central Park, where it all began. Nothing had changed in 5 years. A rusted lamppost cast a dim light on the old playground equipment. I sank weakly onto that same bench. Ha! A dry laugh escaped my throat. In the end, I hadn't changed at all. 5 years ago, a broken engagement, and now, a failed business. Both times, I was forced to confront my own powerlessness to the bone. I swore I would prove them wrong. Am I going to betray my parents' hopes? The livelihoods of my employees are slipping through my fingers. Pathetic. I covered my face with my hands. I wonder what that girl is doing now. She's probably living a much tougher life than I am. I'll crawl on my hands and knees if I have to, but I'll survive. Her words still burned in the back of my mind. Compared to her, You're here again. I looked up at the unexpected voice. Under the moonlight stood Ms. Davis. Not in her usual work clothes, but in casual street clothes. It suited her surprisingly well. Ms. Davis, My voice was hoarse with surprise. Why are you here? One of your employees called me. She sat down quietly next to me. A gentle scent of shampoo drifted from her. I heard that something terrible happened. Her voice melted into the night air. Yeah. I could only nod weakly. It's over. I worked myself to the bone for 5 years, and it's all for nothing. Over? Ms. Davis tilted her head slightly and then smiled. That doesn't sound like you, Ethan. Huh? I thought you were a stronger person than that. I'm not strong. I shook my head. In the end, I can't do anything. I'm powerless. That's not true. Ms. Davis looked directly into my eyes. Her pupils shimmered, reflecting the moonlight. 5 years ago, when we met here, you had that same look on your face. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. What? Is she saying? 5 years ago? Here? No way, it's impossible. Back then, Ethan, Ms. Davis continued, you were so kind to me when I was at my lowest. My heart felt like it would burst through my ribs. You got mad when I called you old man. You said you were only 29. Ms. Davis grinned mischievously. I couldn't believe it. There was no way I could believe it. You can't be. My voice trembled. My whole body started to shake. Finally figured it out? She stood up and spun around once in front of me. The exact same gesture as that night 5 years ago. You're slow, old man. That smile, that tone of voice. There was no mistake. It was the girl from 5 years ago. Mia? Yes. She smiled like the sun and nodded. Mia Davis. That's my name now. Why didn't you say anything? My mind was a blank slate. Miss Davis was that girl. There was a resemblance, those strong eyes. But she had grown so beautiful, I hadn't recognized her. I never found the right time. Mia looked down, a little embarrassed. And I was ashamed for you to know the miserable girl I used to be. She sat down next to me again. But I'm done hiding. I can't just watch you like this. Mia took out her phone. This time, it's my turn to help you, Ethan. Just like you saved me 5 years ago. She started making one call after another. Hello, Mr. Sato at Sato Trucking? This is Mia. Sorry to call so late. To my surprise, everyone she called answered, despite the late hour. When Mia explained the situation, they agreed without a second thought. For you, Mia? Of course, we'll help. I'll send a truck right away. Absolutely. Use our truck first thing in the morning. Mia, you can count on us. We'll get moving even in the middle of the night, in just 30 minutes. She had secured promises of help from 5 different companies. Every single one of them was happy to do it. There, we're all set. Mia turned to me with a brilliant smile. No way. They told me it was impossible when I begged them. I've been helped by so many people over the last 5 years, Mia said. So whenever someone is in trouble, I do everything I can to help them. That kindness is just coming back around now. It's all thanks to you, Ethan. Mia's eyes were glistening with tears. Because you told me to live. The next morning, the miracle became a reality. 6 a.m. 6 trucks were lined up in front of the farm. The drivers all had friendly smiles. Or for Mia, this is nothing. Everyone worked together, and the vegetables were loaded with incredible speed. We departed on time, and the delivery was completed perfectly. That night, Mia and I were sitting on that same park bench again. Thank you, really. I don't know how to repay you. Don't worry about it. The moonlight gently illuminated her profile. Mia quietly began to tell the story of what happened after that night 5 years ago. That day, the ring and the $1,200 you gave me, that was the start of my new life. Her gaze was fixed on the distant past. She went back to night school and worked multiple part-time jobs. There were many days when she couldn't afford a proper meal. But still, she looked at me. Because of your words, I never gave up. My words? Be happy. Those words were my only light in the darkness. A warmth spread through my heart. Whenever I felt like giving up, I would repeat them to myself over and over. The casual words I had spoken had become her lifeline. After graduating from high school, I went to community college on a scholarship. You went into social work? Why? I wanted to save children who were in the same situation as me. That desire led her to the Sunflower Home. It was the spring of my 3rd year working there. You came to sell your vegetables? You recognized me right away? Yes. I thought, oh, it's that old man, she said with a playful smile. Hey, just kidding. Mia let out a small laugh. I knew it was you instantly. You had the same kind eyes as 5 years ago? Then why didn't you say anything? I was going to. I was so happy to see you. But, she paused. Watching you so desperately explain the quality of your vegetables for the sake of the children, your serious expression, the sincere look in your eyes as you talked about your work. I felt I shouldn't interfere with your work with old sentimentality. I thought you deserved to be judged fairly, as a business. So you suggested the taste test. Yes, but it was also because they were truly delicious. Mia smiled. Without any bias, I sincerely wanted the children to eat those vegetables. The reason I kept quiet after that? Well, I thought it would be fun. Mia shrugged, looking a little shy. I kept waiting to see when you'd notice. But you never did. How could I? You became so beautiful. Well, flattery will get you nowhere. Her expression suddenly turned serious. And I wanted to repay you. I wanted to support your dream, Ethan. Mia moved a little closer to me. But as we worked together, I realized something. It wasn't as a benefactor from my past. I realized I was in love with you, Ethan, as a man, a confession. My heart pounded in my chest. Mia's eyes were locked on mine. I couldn't speak. My chest was tight, and the words wouldn't come out. Oh, but... Mia waved her hands in a panic. You don't have to answer right away. I can wait. I waited 5 years, believing I would see you again. So, this time too? Mia. I cut her off. I love you too, Mia. Mia's eyes widened in surprise. Really? Yeah. I told her everything honestly. How my heart warmed every time I saw her smile. But how I saw the ring on her necklace and mistakenly thought she had a boyfriend or husband. Mia looked blank for a moment, and then she burst out laughing through her tears. Oh, Ethan! She took off the necklace and placed it gently in my palm. There was no mistake. It was the ring from 5 years ago. I've treasured it all this time. You didn't sell it? I couldn't. Mia shook her head quietly. This is my treasure. It's the proof of hope that you gave me. My vision blurred. This woman, for 5 years? How did you manage for money? I survived the first 2 months with the $1,200 you gave me. After that, I managed with part-time jobs. But no matter how hard things got, I could never let go of the ring. I couldn't hold back any longer. I pulled Mia's shoulder and held her tight. Mia, Ethan. She was so warm. After 5 years, I felt like I had finally, truly met her. Will you stay with me from now on? Yes, I'll never let you go. I'll never leave you either. The moonlight gently enveloped the two of us as we held each other. 2 years have passed since then. The Johnson farm has grown to become one of the top organic farms in the state. And today, Mia and I became husband and wife. The chapel doors open. The pure white dress makes Mia's smile shine even brighter. On the ring finger of her left hand is a new symbol of our vows, but on her chest, a familiar necklace glimmers. The ring from 5 years ago. At the reception, Mia took the microphone. 5 years ago, I had no future. Her quiet voice filled the hall. But someone told me, be happy. That one phrase became my guiding star. Mia looked straight at me. Today, I am the happiest person in the world. Thank you, Ethan. She took my hand. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. One peaceful afternoon, sometime later, a woman visited the farm office. A tired face, shabby clothes. I looked closer and gasped. It was Sophia Williams. There was no trace of the fiancé I once knew. I saw you on TV. You're so successful. Her voice was hoarse. Sophia looked down. I need to ask you for something. Help me. The man she married turned out to be a con artist. He took all her assets and left her with a mountain of debt. You're the only one I can turn to. Please, just a little. Before I could speak, Mia, who was standing beside me, took a step forward. I'm afraid we can't do that. Her voice was firm. You once abandoned Ethan for the sole reason that he was a farmer's son. Have you ever once imagined his despair or the sadness of his parents? Sophia couldn't say a word. It's far too selfish to conveniently ask for help now. But Mia's expression softened slightly. But you can create your own future. Just as Ethan did, and just as I did. Mia stood up and took a pamphlet from a shelf. This is the contact information for an organization that supports women's independence. Please stand up again with your own strength. Sophia took it with a trembling hand. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry. And thank you. Bowing her head deeply, Sophia left. I looked at the profile of my wife standing next to me. I came up from the bottom too. I want to believe that people can change. Looking at her, I thought once again, I'm so glad I married this woman. Dusk. Mia and I were walking through the farm, bathed in a golden light. The Children's Farm Experience program starts next month, right? Yes. I want them to touch the soil and learn the importance of life. It was a new project Mia had proposed, inviting the children from the Sunflower Home. I looked out over the vast farmland. My parents are healthy again, and now they're just looking forward to seeing their grandchild. That's right. A new life was growing inside Mia. Hey, Ethan. Yeah? Thank you for giving me the ring in the park that day. It's a little late for that. Yeah, it is. Mia smiled, full of happiness. Because that ring is what connected us. Bathed in the setting sun, I squeezed Mia's hand tightly. I pray this happiness lasts forever. I was truly happy to be an organic farmer's son. From the bottom of my heart, I felt it.